Welcome, kayak anglers. You are tuning into the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network, kayak fishing's best network of shows with great hosts covering all things kayak fishing, bringing you special guests covering topics such as shore fishing, river trips, gear reviews, angler profiles, tournament news, and more. Sit back, relax. Let's do this.
Welcome to another episode of the River Run Podcast. I am your host, Adam Pross, and I welcome you. This is going to be a definite, exciting one. Down the Scupper hole. Where does this go? Where does this end? I don't know, but I do know is that I have a couple things to get through first before we actually dive into the show. Don't forget the listener code for Dubrow Fishing. Use it. Save 10 at checkout. That is RRUN10. Save 10 at checkout. Dubrow Fishing it's got a bunch of baits, plastics, whatever you need for your fishing, saltwater, freshwater. Dubrow Fishing has you hooked up. So don't forget to use the listener code. Always important. Check it out. Another one too is the Kayak Adventure Series is having its very last event of the year in the good old Keystone State, which is going to be right in the oil region of Franklin, Pennsylvania. Go check it out. That's September 12th through 13th. One last go. Drew's got this whole thing on lowdown, and he's making it exciting and bigger and better every time. So yeah, why not have the last event of the year go out with a bang? Some of my guests tonight have actually been at the Kayak Adventure Series multiple times. Check it out. These guys are all here. And another cool thing I just wanted to touch on with, if you've ever headed over to the Kayak Adventure Series .com, go check out. They do a cool thing, which is usually they go over the top baits, and they had little touch in detail, and it's just neat to see from people from all over the country, the US, and you got pros, you got just guys who are going out there to fish for passion, fish for tournament, whatnot. Christine Fisher was there. I think one of my guests tonight can probably also talk about this too, Ryan Parker and Jeff Little. But no, they recap just all the baits and the gear and whatnot. And I think it's cool to see, you got guys who are using really high end gear, and you get people who are, they're using what works for them. And I think that's really cool to see. So no, I always after every event, I always reading about, all the action and whatnot. And it's cool to see what baits worked out there. And I'm pretty sure they do this because, for all of you who are interested in checking out these events, maybe that's just a little insider something that's telling us for next year, or maybe another time or another event. So definitely go and check out the kayakadventureseries.com. It is worth checking out all the info that they got there, and make sure you go down to Franklin, Pennsylvania, the 12th through 13th for the very last event of the year. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my guests to the stage here. Jeff Little, Mr. Jay Brown, Mr. Ryan Parker. And hold on here. One more.
What's up, Jameson?
What's up?
Did he just cut himself out of the
It's now our podcast.
That's it. We've taken over. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking about my approach as Jameson is chewing on what, fried chicken? I don't know. So truck camping, car camping, actually, let's just go all the way around and say, what vehicle and what your setup is. Maybe we can each do like just a 30-second overview. I'll start off. Mine is an F-150 with a rooftop tent, and I got the Boondocks gearboxes on the side, and got a diesel heater in there, and I'm doing the rooftop tent thing on a pickup truck. Jay, what are you doing?
So, 2022 Subaru Outback Wilderness. It's strictly a fishing machine. Nobody else goes in my car except me. So I've got it set up. I've got a 4-inch Artemis like self-inflating mattress. Back there, it fits perfectly halfway between the back. So I got my gear set up beside me. I used my Black Pack Pro to set my rods up, and then my rod tips go through my headrest, and then whatever, then
Cool.
I don't use any heaters or anything. I have to say, a good buddy of mine, Nelly B, set me up with the Ryobi fan or the battery fan this summer. Why I never thought of that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I don't know.
We'll dive into the HVAC here in a little bit in detail. Ryan, what's you running, man?
Super simple. My old 2015 Nissan Frontier that's got a little Susky funk in it after last year. But I run a specific bed rack on the back, so I can go gear locked under a tonneau cover, boat up top, and then back seat is I convert it into the bedroom. And we can get more into detail with all that stuff.
Very similar to what Rush Snyder's does, and he fits sideways, and I looked at him like I could never do that. So, Jameson, what's your rig?
I don't fit sideways either. So I have a 2020 GMC 1500, and started off with the overland rack and just tent camping, and just had the rack on the truck with some accessories like a awning that popped out. But the last couple of years, I've been blessed to work with 4-wheel campers. So I have what they call their Project M, which is like a hybrid topper or camper shell that also pops up and has, a bed in the top. So it's been very nice to be able to just pull that thing anywhere and pop the top, very much like you do, Jeff, with your tent, and crawl in there and be contained.
So my rooftop tent, like that's been such a blessing to know that wherever I am, and in my employment in sales and marketing in the kayak fishing industry, I do a lot of dealer visits, and to know that, it's usually on the weekends. Like, I mean, there are times where I plan, hey, I'm going to sleep in the rooftop tent. And then there are times where it's like, hey, I can't get a hotel room. I know, Jameson, you don't ever want to have a hotel room. But I like to sometimes. And it's nice to always have that as a backup. And I think one of the biggest hurdles to doing this is to know, hey, where is it legal? Where am I allowed to be doing this? That was, and where can you do it that you're not either not paying or not paying much? That's been a hurdle, and I've traveled considerably with Jameson, and you know, we've done this in a number of different scenarios, but you know, sometimes you go to a campsite and it's really nice that your vehicle, there's no setup time because you already have it ready to go. But sometimes when you just do it out of necessity, or if you ramp camp, which is legal some places it's not, and I got a story about that later. I know, Jay, you have one about that. I will tell you that one of the downsides of what I do with a rooftop tent is I'm unconscious. I'm in public, and there's nothing that would slow somebody down from just climbing up there, looking in, and they have the upper hand because I'm unconscious. Whereas Jameson, you're inside of something that is going to take some force and shaking it, and you have some warning that, you know, if somebody is going to mess with you, they got to get through something that's a hard shell. And Ryan, I guess you have that you're in the back. You know, Jay, you want to tell your story about that issue and how
Jay's story is I just want to touch on one thing. Jay's story is like probably one of the like worst cases I've ever heard of people who have car camping. It's absolutely a nightmare to say. Like that to me, like I remember after that all happened and he reached out and I was like, man, like I couldn't imagine, you know. So like Jay, like at the same time as you share this, like, you know, if there's anything you don't want to talk about, like we will all respect that 100%, dude.
Yeah. Well, because it's still got some lasting effects. But
100%, dude, and I know that.
Back, I don't know, 3 years ago, I was up in Northern Ontario, camping at a site. I had just finished dragging my rig in. Set up for the night, got off, said goodnight to my wife, fell asleep. It was beautiful. And about 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear, because I've got the mesh screens on my windows to let the air flow through and everything. And I hear, everything okay? Killarney police. And I kind of pop up, you know, and I look out my window and I see an Impala, an unmarked Impala. I get out. Lo and behold, it's 3 guys that basically they mugged. They got away with just over $1,000. I got, you know, a few shots in the head, but I was able to get away. And I don't want to get into specifics because of the trauma of it. Because up in Canada, we can't have guns. Like, it's not like,
no,
hey, step back and, you know, they're taking the temperature ground test. But
yeah, you can't carry concealed weapon in Canada.
No, you can't.
What can you have? Like
nothing.
What? I mean,
yeah,
pepper spray, bear spray, like.
Well, Jack.
Taser,
for example, this is how bad it is in Canada. A guy just got broken into.
A rock and a sling. I don't know.
Yeah, a guy had a home invader break into his house, and he fought the guy, and he's now being held and charged with assault on the home invader. Yeah. Yes. So
this law doesn't work.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Canada's got the stupidest laws. You can protect yourself. If I had bear spray in that circumstance where I feared for my life, the cop said I could have used it.
Yeah.
I never even thought about, like, I'll be honest, you know, everybody thinks Canada, Ontario, you're safe, you're sound. Everybody sings Kumbaya and
yeah.
And no, so I never thought about bear spray. I mean, I have, you know, my hatchet, my knife, but I never even thought of it. So.
And this actually brings up like a really interesting part to this is that when you start to plan out your trips, we're not just you're not just planning like, you've got the rods, the reels, you've got your tackle, but now we're car camping. So now we're beginning to plan and we're going to strategize, but now we really got to think about too, where are we parking? Because I was parking on the side of the road one time in an actual, it's like a parking lot on the side of the road in this long launch to Loon Lane. If you fished KAO back in the day, this was Mississippi Lake. And I had a gentleman at 2:00 in the morning when I was sleeping. So I sleep. My car camping is a 2016 Dodge Journey that I nicknamed the Money Pit because it just runs me nothing but issues. So, for me, the way I do it, I have a really cool setup, and I have posted about it online before. But for me, it's a real simple setup. I know how to get comfortable. I understand what I need in the full setup. But at the end of the day, I had a gentleman come up to my window. So he was on a motorcycle. He came up, he slowed down. I could see all of a sudden that there was this bright light coming into my windshield. And I was like, And then this bike stopped. And then I saw this person begin to walk towards the car. And then he began to look inside the car. And the one thing about my Journey is you can't lock the doors with the fob in it. So for security purposes, you know what I do? I take the battery out of the fob, and then you can lock, the doors will lock. But there was a brief moment where I won't lie, I was kind of like, I don't know what's about to happen here. Like, and I'm laying down sleeping. Like, if this person opens up the door, like we're gonna go face to face. You know what I mean? So, that was like one of the first times I ever went car camping, and for me, it was just that. Like, it was kind of that moment where I was like, oh shit, like what's happening here? And like, this is kind of a weird situation. The guy went around, looked in the front, and then got back on his bike at like 2:00 in the morning and continued down this road. And like, I've slept in Walmart parking lots. I've done, en routes are pretty classic and are always busy. Don't expect to sleep on routes because they're always moving. But yeah, for me, so like, how do you guys, like, honestly, like when you're planning to like sleep somewhere, like how are you in the mood, in gearing up to actually like physically pick that spot that's going to be safe, not just for your gear, your boat, because you got all that too, right? And it's just for your own personal well-being. Now in the States, obviously, you can carry concealed weapons, whatnot, but like, how do you guys do that? And do you have any stories to share on the safety aspect of it?
I definitely have stories, but I want to talk a little bit about a couple ways, and Jameson is actually the one that got me running down this path. There are different apps that you can use that tell you, hey, here are places within a network which you pay a subscription for that you're allowed to be there, and you register sort of like an Airbnb, and they look at your profile and say yes or no. In most cases, you have to do it ahead enough that you're not doing it last minute. I have done some last minute ones, but there's a lot of different. Which are the ones you use, Jameson?
Well, I think you're talking like Hip Camp, and then there's a couple of others, and that's basically people could have farmland, people could have just property. I mean, I think you could, Jeff, you may have even stayed, I think, at someone's house. It just was like, you can camp in my yard. Yep. So it's kind of like an Airbnb, like you said, and there's like reviewers. So if people stay there, they review it. That's great host, so forth and so on. So that's a great one.
Harvest Host is the one I use the most.
Harvest Host is another one. Yep, that's another one.
And it's funny. You can. I will tell you, I used it for a while, and then I stopped using it because I think I got a bad review from somebody because I started getting declined. And I don't know what I did. And I don't know that I got a bad review, but like the answer was yes, 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 like 8 times in a row. And the 9th one was a no. The 10th one was a yes. And then the 11th and 12th were both no's. And I'm like, I must have done something at number 8 that pissed someone off.
So this is like the Airbnb for truck
Yeah.
camping.
Right.
So I gotta ask you, Ryan. Like, do you use any of those apps? Like, how do you move forward with this camping experience that before you do fish
I
tournaments?
kind of
and
know
whatnot?
a lot of times I kind of know where I'm going because so much of it is tournament based. Like for me, a lot of my travel, and some of that is like I'm tied to electricity at that point. Like that's what I need the most if I'm going to be there for a week because I need to charge motor batteries. That's the biggest thing. That's a hard thing to get away from needing. There's some ways to do it, but it's not with it. It's an undertaking, I think, to be able to be like that.
I've done it. I've done it with 2 huge Dakota lithium batteries that I can top off. And I got like the Torpedo like 12 volt like cigarette lighter chargers that I rewired in. Like off of one of those batteries, I can recharge a 915 watt hour Torpedo battery 4 times. So
that's
and I have 2 of them. I don't always carry 2 of them, but I can swap them out.
Steve Baker repurposed an old truck bed toolbox with a couple of those big Dakota batteries, but he wired it into his alternator so that they would charge while he was driving around. It acts as a battery bank. He runs it through an inverter. And he's, I think, been one of the most self-sufficient with it. Steve, of course, has a background as an electrician and doing what he does. So he's, very familiar with working with all that stuff. I just, I've got the equivalent of 4 batteries now, like for the motor. So that gets me away with like, I can go disperse camp, somewhere for a couple days, but eventually I need the power. So I use like Hip Camp, the dirt, stuff like that. But outside of that, like, rest areas, Cracker Barrels, a lot of Bass Pro and Cabela's down here have RV overnight parking for the same reason that I think a lot of like when Lowe's and Home Depot allow it, like they expect you to come in because you need something. But you have to look for the signage. I know most Cracker Barrel restaurants in the U.S., like there's no questions asked. Like there's RV parking. You can sleep there overnight. And the nice thing about those businesses and doing it that way, there's usually security cameras or there's a lot more like just people around. A lot of times there's a hotel right next to the Cracker Barrels. I try and park on the hotel side because there's cameras.
That's such a good point. Such a good point that you brought up there about the cameras there, Ryan. When I park either with my Journey and my trailer, I always look where the camera is. Because in the event something happens and somebody either makes off with something or God forbid it gets worse or whatever, at least I know that I can say, well, the police will know that there's a camera with some sort of footage here, like there's something that will hopefully catch those culprits or whatnot. So yeah, no, the camera part, I definitely agree with that.
I wanted to touch on like just what you're talking about, Ryan, and Jeff too, with the app thing. Probably the app that I use the most, which has every spot that you just named, rest areas, Cracker Barrels, Walmart. I mean, anywhere that you can park a camper. It's called Camp and RV. It's by All Stays. And so if you can, I don't know if this is going to pick up or not. All those little icons are different places that you can camp. Pilot gas stations where you can fill up an RV if you need to or get propane, which isn't really a thing with car camping, but it's just nice because it's on a map you can click on. Just pulling up better.
Okay.
It just like said All Stays, but it's
yeah. So look up Camp and RV by All Stays because you can literally just like a lot of times I don't know where I'm camping, so I know where I'm going, like my final destination, right? But I don't know like, and I'm driving to Washington State from North Carolina, so I want to stay somewhere in between here and there. And this literally has all the national forests, all the wildlife management areas. It has every rest area, every private campground, every state park, national park, city park. Like if you can camp there or they have something to do with RVs, like big travel centers like Pilot and stuff like that, it's on there. And so you can just look along your route and kind of pick a spot like, oh, I think I can make it here. And I'll alternate, like I'll do as much dispersed camping or public land as I can where I may not have water and power hookups. And then like on the third day or so when I'm starting to smell really ripe, and sorry if my kids are in the background, they're going wild because mama's not here and it's just me. But on the third day, I got to have a shower. So I look for a state park or a KOA or something like that I can find on there. But it has been by far the most helpful app for me. And then, if I need to find that hip camp or the dirt, I've got that app as well. I don't use them that much because I do typically find everything on that All Stays app, or at least something. And the further west you go in the United States, like the more dispersed camping you can find, where it's I do a lot of the Bass Pro Shops and things like that, especially if I'm getting in late, going to be leaving out early. It's quick and I'm not worried about being there when it's real crowded. But yeah, that app has been by far, like if you like everybody that camps, period, I don't care if you're in a motorhome or in tent camping, it is the best app for finding places to stay.
So can we go after the like different topics in terms of needs? And Jameson, you just touched on the need to shower, right? I've done Flying J, like you pay for the shower, the truck stop deal.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, like to me, when I've done that bathroom has been cleaner than like 85% of the hotels I go in. Like no joke.
So frequently used, you know what I mean? Like must be the way they look at the higher health standard for it.
They're on top of it.
Yeah. I think if going into it, I had some trepidation, like, I don't know. The other thing I'll do is the Planet Fitness deal. Like, and I'll go and I'll get a workout, even if it's super brief, but like, because I have the black card, you know, I can go to any of them nationwide, and I use those fairly frequently to grab a shower. So that's, two benefits. Any other, but I haven't done anything with water on the truck or the trailer yet. And I feel like that should be a later stage where, I want that. I think I want to be able to take care of cleaning myself where I am, wherever that is.
Yeah, because really at the end of the day, it's the length of your travel, right? And like you're also when you're planning out how you're going to go, whether your travel is, to be in for, hygiene also, like, because at the end of the day, you'd be out on the road for 10 days, like you said, Planet Fitnesses are a great place to stop. The en routes in Ontario, Jay, what about those?
Basically, those are just a washroom, right?
Yeah, because those
for me, I'm if I'm car camping, I'm up north. I'm going to be honest. I'm using lake water. I'm just scrubbing, like just freshening up, jumping in the lake.
Same way,
give it
dude.
a quick scrub.
I'll
be honest. I don't care because I'm fishing, right? Like I'm not, and when I leave, I'm going home. So,
I actually got some halfway like indignant comments on one of my YouTube videos for grabbing a bar of soap and going down to the river.
Yeah, because you're putting chemicals in the water and phosphates and everything. Yeah. I did it once. It's actually along like a secondary highway. There was a lake with a nice kind of pebbly beach, and I just strip down to my ditch and there I am, and people are honking and I don't care. Like I'm one of those guys that I really
There's
don't care.
I learned in my time in the military, there's certain things like outside of a shower that you can do. Like I know for myself, it is like if I can change my socks, my underwear, and
Yeah,
brush my teeth, I feel 10 million times cleaner.
Oh, yeah.
Like I can go weeks without showering. I don't like to if I have the option, but
right.
and that becomes like a subjective like thing, like for each person, like what is
Yeah.
it that you need to feel clean for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I've got the parts in a bag in the garage. I just haven't done it yet to get the black ABS pipe and just build, the hand pressurized shower. I know they make the like the little electric rechargeable pumps that you can drop in a bucket and like all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff now. So it keeps becoming easier, I think, to
Yeah.
do that.
I
I
think
just
for
recently, sorry,
Jameson, you just installed a bidet on your camper, right?
it's close. Yeah, it's close. I did recently do quite the upgrade because it's a never ending thing, right? I'm constantly adding to this rig that I've built out, which now has 160,000 miles on it. And I hope it never breaks down because I've got so much time and money invested in my camping setup that I'm like, this has to run forever. So I'll be dropping a new motor in it if I have to. But yeah, I just recently put one of the shower tents that pops out on the side. And I didn't know how awesome that was going to be until I did it. And to Jeff's point, I've got a 10-gallon, Boondocks makes it. It's a metal tube, basically like what you're talking about building, Ryan, but it has a Schrader valve on it. So I can actually,
Yeah.
I've got onboard air on my truck now. So I can just pump up, my tires and let air
Yeah.
out when I'm off road, but I can pump 50, 60 PSI into that thing. And I mean, it will, come out like your faucet at the house. And then I took it a step further and I picked up a Jolka hot water heater. So it's an instant hot water heater that I can connect to my propane. And basically, when you turn the water on, the thing lights and gets the water hot. And then when you turn the water off, it turns itself back off. So it just is instantly heating the water. And yeah, there's been a couple of times where that's just like you said, Ryan. The little things that can change your morale on a trip. Well, having a hot shower when you're in the middle, and I mean middle of nowhere, like Moab in the desert, or in the Georgia mountains, and
Yeah.
it's cold, and you
I
don't want to
went through
jump in the
Moab
creek.
for the first time like 3 weeks ago. Man, is that
That's
like
amazing. Yeah,
that's a top 3 beautiful drives in the United States.
100%. There's not a lot of water to fish around there, but yeah,
It doesn't matter.
It's,
It's like
That one's eluded me. I've been
Yeah.
through Utah a handful of times, and Moab is, I've missed that one.
Yeah,
It's
I made
amazing.
it on purpose this time because I had to go to Durango in Colorado, and on my way to Idaho, I'm like, I'm making that. I'm gonna camp there tonight, and it was worth it. I couldn't see anything until I woke up the next morning. I drove in with my lights on the truck, and I could only see, just right around the truck. But when I woke up the next morning and came out, it was just all lit up with the sun like rising on it, and I was like blown away. Wanted to spend more time there, but yeah, I was able to set the tent up, and what, to your point, Jay, too, and I've got a little electric 12-volt pump that I can throw in the creek and refill my water. So I carry drinking water as well, but I carry the 10 gallons is just my shower, dishes, whatever water, and I
Yeah.
can refill it or just bypass the tank and just run the pump directly into the hot water heater from whatever pond, lake, river that I'm at.
Jameson, are you doing updates for your YouTube channel on
I
everything
did,
you're
yeah.
talking about?
There's a full walkthrough, pretty much up to date. I don't think I've done anything but change out my. I
The
added
Road
some
Trip
leaf
Angler, if
springs.
you don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. There's 2 different walkthrough videos of the rig. The second one, which is the update one, has got the hot water heater and all that on it. So it also gets my kids and my wife out with me a little bit more. I like to be out in the middle of nowhere, not at a KOA or a
Yeah.
campground
Well,
as much as possible. So the more I can do that, the better.
how cool is that though? Like you think of it that from your kids' point of view, like, you know, their friends go camping, tent, you know, RV, and then, you know, they got their dad who's got this, you know, truck with the camper on the back, all set up, ready to go. You know, that,
Yeah.
like that's a pretty neat experience, I bet, for young kids like that. And like just to touch on this whole shower, if you like, you know, if you're an angler on a budget, you know, or you're into the whole DUI thing, but you can check out Amazon. If you literally just go in and type just camping showers, you'd be surprised for like
Yeah, tons of
the
different
lowest,
options.
tons of different options. But like if you're wanting to spend maybe $50, like there's another one there for $23. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to break the bank. Obviously, if there's loads of different options for it there. But no, I think that was something just worthwhile to say. But I do think it's neat too, like what Ryan was saying about, you know, doing it, you know, with the piping and whatnot. Like that's cool. That would be a neat setup to have.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the next need.
Well, I want to talk about power, if that's all right.
Okay, so
Go
as far
for
as a need.
power.
So we got hygiene,
Yeah.
and now we're gonna go power. Okay, so
Yeah,
how
well-
important is power? Like, like, are we just talking about before we dive into it? Are we talking like to charge, like, because having a phone, making sure your phone's got a battery, you know, that would be handy in the event of emergency. But also, Ryan, you were talking about charging, you know, batteries for your motors. I'm sure Jeff, you would fall into that too. Jameson, you're also, and I can't talk about that because I don't have one, but Mr. J Brown, he can touch on that too because you guys all run kayaks that have motors on them. So yeah, let's what power? How do you get power? How does this work for you?
I'll kick it off just because something I've been working with a buddy of mine too on his truck since we got mine set up. But again, back to the self-sufficient thing with the shower, like I've went that route on the truck as well. So I make power. I've got solar on the roof, and then I've got it connected to my alternator as well. So I've got basically a house battery in the back of the truck. It's a Dakota 135. And I can expand it. I can add another one if I need to, or even just one of those like power boxes. But I carry a portable solar panel, and then I have a 160 watt panel mounted to the roof. And I need power constantly because I run a fridge freezer in the back of the truck as well. Again, I hate staying at campgrounds. I also hate eating out. You know, as
You
much
hate
as I
buying
can.
ice.
I hate buying ice. I'm done with that. And it's really changed having the onboard power, being able to recharge my own onboard power, and then use that to maintain things like torpedo batteries or camera batteries, which we go through a ton of those. Like it's been really, really helpful. And I can go for the fridge. If it's just the fridge, I never run out of power. If I'm charging big stuff like laptops and running the actual inverter when I'm not running the truck, then I could drain it quicker. But I also run fans to what Jay was talking about, getting that fan, just having a little bit of moving air in, because I don't have AC. So having that air, I've got one fan blowing in and one going out. So Jay, if you want to up your level one more time, try that because it made a huge difference for the air circulation in the rig. Is to just have a push and a pull going on and bringing the air through. But yeah, so the solar and having the ability to recharge with the truck and just have that power on tap has been huge. And then I can actually piggyback that extra solar panel when I get parked somewhere if I need to really top off and charge up.
Do you mind
Ryan,
if I ask?
Ryan, do you know if Steve ever made a video about his setup?
I don't know if he did. Knowing Steve, I bet he set out to do it and ran into technical difficulties and never finished.
Now,
That's
Jameson,
my guess.
when it comes to your solar power or your solar panel, way back when I first started, 2017 when I motorized, guys, some of the do-it-yourself guys were like, "Oh, I'm going to put a solar panel in charge," and it never really provided enough juice. How is it now? Like you said, you got 120 or 160 watt.
160, and then I carry another 130 watt portable panel. And I think not all solar is created equal. It's kind of like lithium batteries.
Yeah.
there's definitely a big difference, and I think a lot of brands are coming a long way with it. But what I've done in my research for it, and actually going to some of these, like, I actually go to like the overland expos and stuff, just
Yeah.
to more learn, what are people doing with their rigs, even though most of those people are not doing it so they can have a place to live while they fish. That's what I'm doing, and it's the same thing. I'm trying to live out of it, right? So, um, you know, the brand I work with or use is Overland Solar, and they're pricey. I mean, they cost more. And then Zamp, I've used some of Zamp's, which is owned by Dometic, which makes all kinds of stuff in the RV space. And what's nice about, I think, where they've come a long ways is the older panels or the lower price point technology, we'll say cheaper stuff. You really got to like point it at the sun, and you got to have sun, right?
Right.
Whereas the Overland Solar stuff, and I'm sure there are other, and Zamp is pretty good too. I'm sure there's other brands that do this well. They will actually charge even when they're not in direct sunlight. So even like a hazy day, they're still getting some power in, where like a lower price point one would just be nothing. You wouldn't get anything. So they definitely have come a long ways. And for example, if I'm just running my fridge freezer, like I'm not pulling off the battery if it's decently sunny
Oh,
outside at all. Like it'll keep up with it, and I'll stay at 100% without driving the truck. And something like a Torpedo battery, I think it depends on the use. Like if you're wide open, yeah, you're never going to keep up with it. I do think it extends the range. I have a solar panel that I run on my 1103, or yeah, 903. Sorry, the 903 travel motor, that like tiller drive version. And I'll
yep.
I'll put that out sometimes, and I do think it definitely increases my range for sure. And I've actually like left the boat that I have that on is a Sea Eagle Fish Gifts. It's like an inflatable
Yeah.
fishing boat, and I have a little bimini, and I'll put the bimini up and put that on top of the bimini. And I've left that just like after using the boat most of the day, like most of the morning, let's say half a day, and then parked it at the dock and left it out in the sun. Came back the next morning to go out again, and it be topped off without me even plugging it in, just from charging. Now it wasn't
Okay.
completely dead. I only used it half a day, and it wasn't like burning through the battery, but it definitely helps keep up with it. And so I think having the right lithium, the right charging system, and the right solar, you get that combination, and then all
I
of us
would
drive
I would
every
love to
day.
know the difference, like the charge rates of sure different solar panels. And I get what you're saying, Jameson. Like if you buy quality, you're going to get that quality charge rate. But compared to Steve Baker's system running off the alternator, that's got to top it off faster.
It does,
But how
100%.
much faster? And is it fast enough to say, hey, I'm just going to let my truck idle because I'm not going anywhere, to like burn some actual fuel to get what I need to charge everything off? Is that
I find the combination, because like you're charging off of the stored power that you have in the Dakota, right? So it's the
yeah,
same thing. I'm storing the power that I'm making. So I want to be making it when the truck's running, when the truck's not running. Anytime that I can make power, I want to make power.
yeah,
And then if I get to the point where I'm consuming more power than I can store, then I can add another battery into the mix. And so far, the 135 has kept up with everything that I've thrown at it. And that's running both fans at night wide open in the summer, running the fridge freezer wide open. And if I'm moving every couple of days, 3 days, whatever, the most I've ever drained it down was running all the lights, the fridge and freezer, and having the fans on about mid or so. I was at one of the expos and had my truck parked inside, so I couldn't crank it. Through the whole show, 3 day show, I got down to like 60%. And I did have the extra solar panel like plugged in, but I was running it hard for 3 straight days. I still had 60% battery, charging my cell phone, charging my laptop and GoPro batteries and stuff. I mean, using it, the power.
I
So
with some of my just the tournament stuff, I've started packing like an e-bike, like a fold up e-bike, So instead of like attaining and running a river, if there's a route that I can basically drop my boat off and self shuttle with the e-bike, it just, and do a float instead of attaining up the river burning battery. I've been doing that a lot recently. And that's been one way I've conserved just saved myself the need to charge an extra day or two or whatever it is.
That's creative and cool, but like since becoming torpedoized, like I can't catch fish as well if I'm drifting down a river.
Yeah.
I hate doing float trips because like I'm in front of these fish and they're like, "Yeah, we see you coming." Whereas if
this
I'm
is for
running
practice,
up,
so
I'm in their blind spot and I catch them.
If I can fish with my eyes for practice, that's what I want to do, and I can do that floating just about as well as. Actually, I feel like I do it better floating because I can kind of just stand up and not move and just look. See,
I'm just,
I've
fully acknowledged that I am not as good going downstream as I am.
I'm in full agreement there from like a fishing standpoint for sure. It's definitely I think advantageous to go up.
Most of my trips end with like, hey, it's basically dark and I got to run this class 2 rapid. Sound familiar, Ryan?
Sure does. I was going to also mention that, sometimes it starts with just picking an efficient kayak to motorize.
Yeah.
It's going to save you a lot more power in the long run.
Oh my gosh.
What's next?
There's a pitfall of a totally different tangent.
So
but no, let's talk about HVAC.
Okay, yeah. So let's dive into this here. Okay, so Jay, like you brought up the part about the fan, like the fan being is how getting that air moving. That is one of the things I remember the first time I ever went car camping because it was the middle of the summer, and one of the things I struggled with was it got hot because it was like nearly 40 degrees out. Of course, I was driving at night, got to the spot where I needed to be, had the AC running, but moment that AC quit, that was it was becoming warm, plus being parked beside wet grass left for nothing but mosquitoes. So come on, like I want to hear about what is your HVAC to doing. I actually run a very small fan also, and I run a very simple screens on my windows with a fan. So I'm just constantly at least moving the air, windows down just enough so we get some air, screens on those windows so the bugs don't make their way in while I'm sleeping. But that's generally how I do it. Very simple setup. You can get fans on Amazon and whatnot. But what about you, Jay?
Well, I'm as simple can be.
Such an American. I don't know whether this helps anyone else, but 40 degrees is over 100. Go ahead.
So unlike Jeff and Jameson, where they're traveling, for work basically. I'm traveling. My IG was "We'll travel to fish." I'll travel 6.5 hours, fish for the day or stay the night, whatever. So I've really compacted everything. And in the beginning, I'll admit it, I sweated it out. I didn't have the luxuries of a fan until, like I said, my buddy Nelly was saying, "JB, you got to get this fan. What are you doing?" And I just picked it up and made a world of difference, right? And that's the only thing. I don't use heaters. I'll like I car camp right down to -5, so 30 Celsius in my car, or 30 Fahrenheit. Sorry, guys, I got to convert. Because it's
we got to convert it here for everybody.
Yeah. Well, when Jeff showed, he's like the Celsius, and I'm like, okay, I got to, because I know 30 feet freezing, but
I can do more conversions if you need it.
But I just, I'm a simple guy because it's, I don't spend a lot of time. We all probably just jump in, go to bed, get up, and go.
That's me.
But, Jeff and Jameson,
you guys
you're on the road longer or at a location longer than I would ever be, right? So you need that stuff. Like, just to get back to the power, when I only had, one motor battery, my 60 amp, back then it was either, so Canadian, we're talking $600 to $700 for a 60 amp battery, is cheaper for me to buy a small Generac gas generator. And I would just throw it on the roof or on the rear basket hitch rack and just use that to charge my batteries. Right. But that's why I was inquiring about the solar, because now I've got a big enough roof and I don't rooftop anything. I can throw a solar on there. Because I want that fridge. I want that freezer fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just you could invest in like 100 amp in the car, and you could probably even like top off the other one with that.
Yeah.
For me, like I sympathize with you probably more. Well, you know, I had a Subaru Outback, and
Yeah.
I remember the first time I tried to sleep in it because when I got it, I'm like, oh, I could put a bed in here totally. It's lay the seats down, it's huge. And so I went to fish in Charleston. I was fishing redfish tournaments.
Yeah.
And so I went to have my kayak on the roof, and can't do that anymore. Kayaks are heavier and I'm older. But yeah, I had a Cuda 14
Yeah.
Jackson on the roof of it, and got there and thought I'm gonna go to bed. I got there late. I'm gonna go to bed. I tried to roll the windows down. Negative. Mosquitoes were absolutely horrific, and it was hot and it was humid. It was summer in Charleston, South Carolina.
Was
So I
this the
roll the
story
windows
with
up.
all the raccoons?
No, that was another one. That was another battle for life. But anyway, I rolled the windows up. Didn't sleep at all. I mean, I was just completely miserable. I mean, it was probably 85 and I don't know 100% humidity. So
Ugh.
whatever that is in Celsius, hot. And so the next day, I went to Lowe's Hardware and just bought. You could buy the screen by the foot, and I just rolled off some screen and cut it, and then cut it into squares, and I like shut my car doors on the screen so that
I
I could
did
roll
that.
the windows down. And just that alone made a huge difference, just letting some air get in. And then I've been since then, and everything from toy haulers. I've got a worst financial decision of my life. I bought a Class A motorhome, which I can't get rid of. If anyone would like to buy it, I'm not really selling it that well, am I? But yeah, and then kind of reverted back to the tent and simplicity, and then now the truck camper, which has been my happy spot. And I've got the two fans, and then for heat, I just run a little My Buddy like propane heater, and I'll turn it on, and unfortunately those things are either on or off, right? So like it gets hot, and so I'll just turn it on. The coldest I camp is probably the coldest I've slept in there has probably been in the 20s, which was about 8 inches of snow on the ground when I did that as well. And so I was able to turn that heater on, get it nice and toasty, get in my sleeping bag, get drowsy, turn it off, and then I slept through the night. When I woke up, I just reached down, ignited that little heater back up, and when it got warm, I got out of my sleeping bag. So that's how I handle that.
So I've hammock camped with the Boondocks Drifter in like 19 degrees, and in having the underquilt is everything. If like the underquilt shifts off to like this part of your shoulder, that part of your shoulder gets really cold really fast. But if you're covered, you're good. And I've covered that in a bunch of videos. So it does speak to the idea of insulation can somewhat trump actual heat HVAC. That being said, this year I'm getting the diesel heater. I'd heard that the propane ones kind of put some moisture into your space, and that diesel is the way to go. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I'm toasty warm, but because it's such a small space, like you said, Jameson, if it's on, like I have to put it on the lowest setting. Like even if it's like 45 degrees out, right? I put it on the lowest setting and I let it ride, and I have to have like most of the tops of the vents of the rooftop tent open. because otherwise
Wow.
it'll cook my flesh.
Back to power just for a second. Steve Baker's watching. He just
Yes.
texted me his whole setup. He has a 12-volt, 300 amp hour Bioeno house battery, a Victron isolated DC to DC charger, and a 3,000 watt Amazon inverter. If he drives 1
Thank
hour
you.
per day, he can fully charge a depleted 12-volt, 50 amp hour battery every day.
That's
So
awesome.
if he drives his truck for 1 hour, he can charge a 50 amp battery.
Thank you, Steve
Wow.
Baker, for giving us the
Yeah.
the extra sauce there. I like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
great.
that. Thank you.
Steve, I might come see you.
I'm kind of with Jay. I run the fan in the truck when it's hot. I have I think I got them on Amazon for like $10. They're these like double-sided screens. They're super fine mesh. It's like the no-see-em mesh. So if you're like doing the Cracker Barrel rest area where you've got like overhead lights and stuff, it darkens your whole setup.
That's awesome.
Which is nice, but it's two layers of screen. You just slide them over your doors and open your windows. And I tested them in the North Woods of Minnesota this year. I didn't wake up with a bunch of mosquitoes in the truck through the tiny little cracks that they could get in. So they definitely work and keep bugs out and stuff. And then wintertime, I'm a couple sleeping bags and I highly recommend double bagging if you're going to go like cold, because it adds an extra layer of air that becomes another layer of insulation. This is something I learned from the military, and I did a lot of backpacking. And I think the coldest I've backpacked is like -7. That's Fahrenheit, not Celsius. And I had a watch on that had a thermometer. It stayed 73 degrees inside both sleeping bags in -7. I mean, you've got that thing cinched down to just over your nose and mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll usually run. What I normally do is I'll run my summer sleeping bag inside of like a big heavy down one, and that's usually enough to get me through at least -7.
Kind of like a base layer, really. When you think about it, you're using the layers, and just like any activity in the wintertime, or maybe when you guys do river fishing, at that winter, you're using base layers underneath your dry suits, right? Most of you probably have some sort of barrier to keep your skin at least warm and your body temperature there without having the feel of the cold. So yeah, for me, I run the same sleeping bag as I do up until October, and then I start adding extra blankets. But I'm one of those people that uses base layers, and I like to keep my core warm. So I was able to find a really lightweight, not a heavy downfill, a lightweight. I think it's an Eddie Bauer vest, and it just keeps my core temperature warm. And I found just adding that just helps with the sleep. Like, I'm not waking up in the middle of the night like, Jesus, it's cold in here. Like, it's like I feel the warmth, and it holds the heat.
A knit cap is huge.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Now,
you lose most of your heat
the
your head.
way the human body, like it, all of your organs to live are right here. So it will pull all the blood, like it'll start constricting your blood flow out of your extremities. If you can't keep your core warm, it pulls it all back up in there. So keeping your core warm helps keep the rest warm. That's kind of how that works.
I just wanted to touch on one thing here. Before you ever slept in your vehicle, out by the river, in the desert or whatnot, wherever you were up north, did you try it out in your driveway first? Did you do anything like that?
I did that with the hammock camping.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that as well.
Just trial and error.
Yeah. So I didn't have the luxury of that with my current setup. I drove to California to pick it up. That was one of the stipulations with the brand. They were like, we're going to give you one, which is awesome. But they were like, you got to show up to get it. So Sacramento is a long ways from North Carolina. So I drove, I like unrigged everything that I had and drove out. And the first night after I had it, I slept in it the whole way back. So yeah, I got thrown right into it. But I knew, I've had enough different things, right? To know, to your point, I have done the same thing that Jeff was talking about, tested to see before I left, because it works with what you're talking about, the sleeping bags, the hammock, same thing. If you don't have that insulated layer below you, like a lot of people sleep on some form of air mattress, right? And if you do an air mattress and it's cold, especially if you're outside, not in the car, you've got nothing to insulate that air underneath you, and you're going to be colder than you would if you actually slept right on the ground.
Yeah.
But fortunately, there are like insulated air mattresses now, and I don't think people realize that. Like, there's actual feel in some of the different air mattresses, but you're
They're
actually
Even
probably
just
self-inflating.
adding like the old, like the Z
the old
fold up
foam
with the
pad. Yeah,
closed cell. Just
Yeah.
throw that on top of the air mattress. You get that closed cell foam insulation and the comfort of the air mattress. It works.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you're going to
It's certainly
compress
better than not
your
having it.
sleeping bag is compressed, right? So you're getting no insulation on the bottom.
Right.
And they do make, by the way, to your point, Ryan, I used to work when I first got in this industry. I worked at a retail shop that also sold a lot of backpacking gear, and they make like layers that are for sleeping bags. So like
Yeah.
if you have a 30-degree bag and you want to make it a 15-degree bag, there's like these little packable sleeping bag socks, they look like, but you can
Yeah.
add those, and they help as well. But yeah, there's so many little tricks that you learn.
If you
It's even like,
do the sleeping bag thing, storing them, how you store them is a big
yeah,
thing. 'Cause
don't leave them in their
Yeah.
stuck out.
Don't.
Yeah.
Hang them. Hang
Hang them if you
them up.
can.
You know that.
Most good, or nicer bags too will come with two sacks, right? You've got the bigger one, and then you've got the one you pack down to throw in your backpack. Hanging them in the bigger one, you can still kind of contain it, but it allows that feel, whether it's synthetic or down, to like expand, and keeps it from losing its thickness or
Jay,
whatever you want to call it.
you have, so we're just talking about the air mattress and like your setup, because this year you tried out a newer air mattress, was it not?
Yeah, so I'm using the Gear Doctors Artemis self-inflating. So it's the same thing. It's an air mattress, but it's like almost like a drop stitch. Like, your drop stitch sup boards. So you unroll it after about 5 minutes, it's about 80%, and then you've got the sack, you just fill it up, and it's an R value 8.9. You can get some that are 9 point whatever, it's 4 inches. I don't feel the cold, but unlike you guys, what I don't like about sleeping bags is I'm a side sleeper. So every time I roll, that zipper pulls. So what I started doing is I got a king size downfilled duvet. And then actually I picked up, I don't know if you can see it, it's camouflage, but a camouflage duvet cover. So what I do is I just fold it over and I slip in like a taco. And I can roll around, move, do whatever, but I've got that, the downfilled beneath me, plus that 4 inches of air mattress, and you don't feel the cold. Everybody's asking, they're like, do you feel the cold? Do you feel? I'm like, no, man. And then when you bring that duvet over, for me, it's just more comfortable, right? And then I can just pull it out, shake it out, do whatever. But it's probably the best thing I've ever done. And I spent hundreds on sleeping bags, coffin style, and minus 15 bags and summer bags.
This all brings us to like a really good point here, and one of our listeners right now brought it up, and he was talking about camping. He's car camping for over 40 years, Michael Thompson here, but rest. The rest part is important. It's important because you may be, for your focus in a tournament, you're driving long hours. How important is sleep to you while you are either truck camping, car camping, hammock? You know what I mean? Like, those are really important parts. And Jeff, you've touched on this in your videos too.
Yeah, I've not got good sleep by being in a noisy place. I've not gotten good sleep by it's too hot and sticky, and I just didn't have that air movement. I've not gotten good sleep. Maybe I'm just going to jump in and tell this story. So this is ramp camping on the Susquehanna right before the native tournament and the Big Bass Power Hour, and I was like, I have to be here, and I have to be first in at that ramp, and I camped like, I mean, I set up the rooftop tent, 30 feet from the ramp, and when I got there, there was what I assume was not someone who was, how do I say this? They're homeless, sleeping in their car, as opposed to what I was doing.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Well, apparently to the police officers that rolled through it, 2:48 a.m., there was a difference, because I knew that I saw the woman in her vehicle sleeping like at the far end of the lot, and I'm right next to the ramp. Basically, I was awakened by a police officer saying very loudly to another police officer, "Yeah, I've checked it. There's no one in there. They come out here for these tournaments, and like, I've looked it over." He knew I was in there, and he was kind of doing the cool thing of waving off the other one.
That's cool.
It was, but I was trying to pop my head out and be like, "Hey, everything cool?" In doing that, after he took off, like, he was like, as soon as he was pushing his fellow police officer, like, let's leave him alone. And I looked across, and they'd already shooed away, the woman who was sleeping in her, 1989 Corolla or whatever it was. There are consequences for choosing poorly, and the consequences usually sleep. And I know when I've slept the best is when I'm at I'm at a campground, and I know I'm good to be there. Like, there's no questionable, and there are places that you go that you're like, am I really allowed to be here? What is the legality of this?
Yeah.
And when you don't know and you just wing it, you kind of sleep with one eye open, and maybe you don't always get the rest that you should.
Just going back to that app, that's one of the things I like about it is it actually has reviews of all the spots. So even a Walmart parking lot, you can get on there and look at reviews, and other people are like, I slept here, it was horrible, super loud, or I got ran off, or I talked to the manager and they said it was fine to park in this area. It's quieter over here. Like, it's really helpful to like kind of get an idea before you stop at a place. Like, did someone say that they had good luck at that location with that? And I mean, rest is I mean, it's really important for you guys that are going to tournament fish, or even to me, if you're recreating, you're just going
Yeah.
to camp and fish, like, that's your time off, right? And
Yeah.
it's valuable, and you need it.
100%.
And if you don't get good rest, then when you come back to work on Monday, you're gonna be hating life. But for me and Jeff, this is a lot of times our job, and we have to show up to, whether it's a dealer that we're going to talk to, or I'm filming an episode of the show and I got to be on point, all day. And even with Airbnbs, there's times where we get off the water late, we get back on the water early, and at the end of the week, you're just not ready to be in front of the camera. So, like, it takes a toll when you go a couple days without good night's sleep.
Yeah, I'll touch on this, and then I gotta go hit the other podcast.
Dark horse.
But yeah, rest is important. For me, being a tournament guy, like, I asked myself this just in my own just personal life, but certainly it pertains to tournament fishing. But how much sleep do I need to be at my best? Because if I'm not at my best, then am I going to be fishing my best, or is my focus going to be at the best that it can be? And I know what that number is for me. I think it's a different number. Like, how many good hours of sleep does each
actual
each
rest
of us need? That's me too, Jeff. I'm like a 7. solid 7. I can operate really well on not much, but to be at my absolute best, 7.
Do you think the military prepared is kind of helped you in that part, maybe of knowing actual rest and running on less sleep?
It does, because you get used to. I know how far I can push myself without it, and still function at a high level. But yeah, if you can avoid doing that.
Brian, before you sign off, there's one other, what I feel is a big need that maybe not as many people talk about, but it's absolutely critical. I want you to weigh in on pooping and peeing.
Yeah. Yes. And boy, the military prepared me for this too. The old 5-gallon bucket is your friend. Do the bag system. If this is like the most simple thing, don't skimp on the size of Gatorade bottle or whatever bottle. Wide mouth is better. Like if you're just in the truck, whatever, like you can't get out, say you're not at a rest area, there's not facilities nearby. The 2 at the gas station and just empty it when you have time or a place or whatever.
I actually buy the like healthcare
bedpan version. Yeah.
The urinal, the thing you use in the hospital, but the thick one, because I learned. Mm-hmm. Oh no. I learned a bad way that like the cheap one, when you've like, so the way the rooftop tent comes down, it has these hinges that go like that. And like that, the cheap one got underneath that, and like I didn't realize there was enough flex. There was a little bit. Yeah, I woke up in the morning and was like,
"Oh my
yeah,
God.
I feel this more than I thought I did." Yeah.
I had
to totally wash all my bedding when I was out.
If you're comfortable with it and you have that drop down shower tent or the little pop up deal and you're in a space, dude, the cassette toilet is like the way to go.
That's the next purchase for me, is the little cassette toilet. There's a lot of different options. There's the composting, the cassette that you carry and dump. You can dump it in a toilet, or if you're at a campground that has that, or the bucket with the bag. There's even ones that have these cartridges that basically are like bags, so it fills, and then when you're done, it twists it up for you, and you just take the bag out and you're good to go. Not all my Nalgene's are created equal, so if you're ever hanging out with me, don't just grab any Nalgene. Ask. There's a system.
I'm gonna buy you a urinal, man.
You say that, but I like, the reason I like, number one, the Nalgene. I get the big one with the wide mouth, as you mentioned,
to make your reason wide mouth, Jameson.
The reason is because the Nalgene is pretty hard plastic. Like if it rolls around in the truck, I mean, you could drive over it and it's not probably going to break. Like they're just so rock solid and the seal's tight. And through the years that I worked at Jackson Kayak, I accumulated a lot of Jackson Kayak Nalgene bottles. So, yeah.
Using them up.
I'm a nurse.
All look the same.
I'm a nurse, so I just self-catheterize. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But,
I mean, I've thought about it on home trips. I'm like, how convenient
is this really happening right now?
Yeah, no. But, Jeff, like, getting back to actually hygiene, at work, I may slip. We have, it's called, like, bath in a bag. They're wipes, sanitary wipes that you can, freshen up with. They're not the best, but if you don't have a water source, like, there's some guys that'll do overlanding and not, kayak fish or whatever, but those are really good, to freshen up the junk and under the arms if you want. But I also grab the bedpan bags as well, and just use those, put it in a bucket, tie it up, and then keep it outside until I leave, and then find the nearest gas station.
Okay,
So the
so
if you have not done the 5-gallon bucket with the bags though, like you can tie off the bag, throw it in the bottom of the bucket, and just put the new bag like over the other bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
keep them contained until you get to a place. I know, from years of rock climbing, I never did the like out west big wall stuff, but those guys, they make PVC. They're called the poop tubes, and that way they can drag them up the mountain. Like if you're on a 5-day climb or something like that, like where do you go? You can't just poop off a mountain or like a cliffside. There's people down there.
cheeks hanging.
In
So-
the paddling world, it's called the groover. And
The
reason
groover, I was
it's called
gonna
the
say.
groover is it's an ammo can, and it puts
Yeah.
grooves on your butt cheeks.
Yeah, you can use the bucket does the same way, but yeah, anything you crap in when you're going on a long like multi-day paddling trip, it's the groover. And the groover location is very important part of everyone's job. When you get to the camp, you want to find a nice scenic spot so that while you're using the groover, you've got a nice like view,
Nice.
so super important. But we
Takes-
actually
Let you relax,
yeah,
at that
we actually
moment.
made like one of our kayaks Traverse, I think it was. Can't remember. It was one of our whitewater like river running boats, not a creek boat, but like a long distance trip boat. We had a thing made for that PVC pipe that you're talking about that the rock climbers use, and the paddlers will use that too because it's whatever you bring in, you got to take out on a lot of the rivers. And so we had a thing like molded to hold that and a way to strap it down, and so the poop tube holder was actually a
The
feature.
Traverse
on
is the one
Dude.
that I got my ACA certification in about a year ago.
Same. That's one I did too. Did the Karma Traverse.
I'll touch on this too, like because like backpacking and stuff, you carry your little trowel, or if you're more crafty, you just get a stick and dig your hole. But nobody ever talks about the wiping part. I always just keep like the marine and RV toilet paper instead of like the high-end Charmin stuff, because it's septic safe and it's more biodegradable than like all the other stuff.
Okay,
So
that's a
something
good
that's just
tip.
kind of overlooked, but
Baby wipes
for sure.
No, if you're out, who said baby wipes?
I'll tell. That's.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The problem with baby wipes, with me, I do Crown Land camping, so it's free camping on government land. Generally,
Canadian
if you
thing.
find a site, they usually have a crapper, and it's just a 2x8 where you just hang your ass off and go. You don't want to use baby wipes because they don't break down. But
Okay.
I like what Ryan was saying. I never even thought about that high biodegradable toilet paper, because like when you're out in the bush, it's nice to know that what you're putting out there is going to degrade, within a season or two, and not, baby wipes still last forever. You might as well just throw plastic all over.
Yeah, and
bread
even
bags.
if they say flushable, they're not like.
no.
You can buy. By the way, Ryan, you probably know where to
Dude,
find that stuff.
I've done plumbing long enough to know that
Yeah,
even if they say flushable,
they don't break
they're
down.
not
Well, most
flushable.
toilet paper doesn't break down. Like to your point, I mean, it doesn't, and
No.
you won't find that RV and marine toilet paper in the toilet paper section of most stores.
No.
But like if you go to Walmart over by the automotive and sporting goods section, they have usually a little RV section, and they will have it back there. I know that's where I get mine
rural Lowe's, Home Depots, and a lot of Menards. Menards always has it too. If you have those around.
Yeah, but if you're in a normal like grocery store, they probably won't have it. Walmart has it, but it's always in the RV section, not in the toilet paper section.
Okay.
Covering all the good stuff.
This is down the poop chute. Here we go. Ryan, I know you did say you had to jump on the Dark Horse live is where you're headed next. So to anybody watching, if you want to head over to check out the Dark Horse live, Mr. Ryan Parker is going to be heading over there. He handles that with the gentleman from the Dark Horse Tackle. Monthly subscription box, loads of fun stuff there to check out. So Ryan, I just want to say thank you for coming by the podcast, dude, and taking the time, dude. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Here.
See
It
you
was
around.
awesome chatting with you.
Cheers, dude.
Yeah.
Have a good one. All right. We might have lost Mr. J Brown, but no. Okay, so we dive further into this, and like it's interesting about this whole, when you talk about such an important part is literally like you need to use the washroom, like that's important. You got to go, and you also want to do your part. Oh, Jay Brown is back in the house. Jay, what happened to you? You're back. And so now that we kind of covered on, we talked about sleep and how important sleep is. And I did want to touch on one thing about sleep is when you're driving long hours, when you're driving and you're tired, your body kind of goes into like a rest mode. And what you can start to feel is like that moment where you start to nod off. And if you're pulling a trailer or whatnot, no, that's not something you need to really go through. But for me, sleep is a very important thing. And I think Jay can probably touch on that too, because, the drive back from the lake or the river is always, it's full of excitement. And at the same time, it's like, wow, a bit of exhaustion if you've been paddling all day or, you've been working your way through it. So having adequate sleep is definitely good. And doing your part too. Not obviously baby wipes, like that. I never really would have thought that was to be something that not to use. Toilet paper is something that I always carry with me, especially when I'm out on the river. A lot of those, I just want to touch on one thing. Those Amazon, if you just go on Amazon and you type in camping toilet, you'd be surprised what comes up. And like there's loads of stuff that comes up from anywhere from like, $40 to $70 easy things for those who are looking for an easy way to use our emergency potty on the actual road or when you're car camping. But like now, going on, what's another like important thing for you guys while you're car camping? Like we're touching about food here. Like food is, how do you, like Jameson, you're talking about, like I like to bring all my stuff with me so I don't have to eat out. For me, I'm big on also preparing all my meals ahead of time. Now I don't have a fridge to keep it. Instead, I use the coolers that plug in the car, work well for me. It also works well with my setup. And then when I need to, I add ice to keep my stuff cold. But what about you, Jeff? How do you plan out your meals while you're car camping and on the road?
I use pretty minimal amounts of stuff that has to stay cold. And the stuff that I keep cold is in an Orion cooler, and it's better. Like for that style, that's been the best at keeping things cold a long time. So I don't know. How long have you gotten, Jameson? How long have you gotten out of,
If you manage it right, you can get 11 days in pretty hot sun.
Yeah.
But that's not with my kids. So the problem I have with coolers in general, and I love my Orions and I still use them, but when I'm camping with my family, my kids do not understand the concept of getting in and out of the cooler. Okay. They're in and out of it constantly. And they're never closing it properly. And they're just like, I'll catch them just staring in it with it open, And so, yeah, that's going to take that time so far down. And after you go to make a ham sandwich for about the fifth time and it's just floating in water, the ham itself inside the bag is floating, you just start to like go, okay, this isn't the right tool for this job. Like if it's just me and I'm going out, I can manage it and the cooler works great. But the fridge has definitely changed it. To go back just a second, Adam, to be clear, I also use dude wipes. I just put those in the trash instead of leaving them out there. So toilet paper stays, dude wipes go with me to the trash.
Okay, there you go. Dude wipes, we all know about those.
Yeah, not sponsored by Dude Wipes, but if they're listening,
might get sponsored now. If they're listening, Dude Wipes,
can't beat them because they also make the towels too. To Jay's point about cleaning up, they make them that fold out into bigger.
Really?
I think it's them. Might not be them. Anyway, I have something very similar, and I thought it was theirs, but it folds out into like almost like a hand towel size.
Yeah.
And it's more of a body like deal, and so I carry those as well. But getting back to the food, so Jeff and I are very different when it comes to the food that we eat, and I think that we should at least touch on that as we talk about
Let's do it.
How we bring food. Jeff eats to live. And I mean, wouldn't you say that, Jeff? Like,
survival mode.
it's not that you
So-
don't enjoy a good meal, but it's less of a like how it. If you're getting the nutrients you need, that's your number one goal.
Yeah,
My
no,
number one goal is does it
I'm
taste
stopping
good?
off at a gas station and I buy the nutrition and I put it in my body. I do things like
Baby
eat
food.
raw
It's the worst
ginger.
thing.
Sure, I have baby food packets because they're shelf stable. I get kale because it's a green that doesn't usually wilt ever. I do things that are. So I have a Bachelor of Science in dietetics, which is human nutrition with a healthcare application. So yes, I'm wired a little different in terms of food. And when I camp and do all this with Jameson, I'm grateful that he's like, hey, we just got flooded out of the river because they released the dam, and like Jameson's like, want some goose sausage? And I'm like, sure, let's cook some goose sausage in the middle of like a biblical flood. Yeah, let's do that. I don't do that. Like, I'm PB&Js and can of sardines and baby food and granola and so much shelf stable stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm going on the river tomorrow. Do you know what's already packed?
I guarantee there's a packs of baby food in there. 100%.
There's a couple packs of baby food.
Yeah.
There's like 4 sweet corn ears that are still in stock that like I picked from like that field right there, and I just eat that. I won't cook it. It's good, just like that. It's really good.
Yeah.
And like peanut butter and jelly.
Like,
and some jerky.
he literally
And
just
sometimes
pulls
I make the
handfuls of
jerky.
kale out, eats the kale, and then
Yeah, I was
takes a
just
bite out
gonna
of a
say.
root of ginseng, and then
Ginger,
goes back
yeah.
to ginger. Yeah, whatever. He's just taking a bite of ginger, handful of kale. I can't do that, so I carry the fridge, and I carry steaks, chicken, sausage, whatever. Like, I got meat and vegetables usually.
I also like my caffeine intake is pretty consistent. Every morning I have a cup of coffee, but sometimes like I don't
This is good.
I don't even heat water, man. Like, I'll grab like
Cold brew.
get some instant, boom, throw some water in, shake it up, down it goes. Hey,
Yeah.
let's start fishing right away.
See,
What
not
about
me.
you?
People
What
that
about
live
you, Jay?
like, what is wrong with you?
Jay can touch on that.
We
Jay
can take
loves
time to
coffee.
like heat some water for you to have a hot cup of coffee. No,
Well, that was the
Very
other
good
reason
fish.
I bought a generator was to brew my coffee. It doesn't matter where I go. I've always got this, and I got my green Stanley thermos, actually 2 of them. And but when it comes to food, I'm kind of in between Jameson and Jeff, where I'll do wraps with peanut butter, but I'll have those saved for like day 2 or 3 or 4. But I'll bring steaks, dogs, hamburgers for the first night. But that's why I was really interested, and I've been looking at the fridge freezer, just for more convenience, right? Like, water can be, excuse my language, piss warm. I'll drink it. Same with my coffee, could be ice cold, doesn't matter. But to have the ability to bring fresh cut ham to make a ham sandwich would be absolute dynamite. And because it like James said, you open it up, and it's floating in water. Your bread's soaked, so now you're throwing that out, and you're just eating waterlogged ham or roast beef, whatever. So I
like
that's
double or
the
triple
next-
bag stuff.
I,
And I don't
you know
have
what? I'm not
You
that
need
smart.
Jeff.
Jeff.
You need a fridge. You got power. You got everything you need. It's
Yeah, and
not
I
expensive.
got the room for it.
Yeah, if
the
you got a
room,
room
so-
for a cooler, you have room for a fridge. They're no bigger, and it's changed my life. Like, I'm not. There's very little things that I'm like, okay, but like the shower on the truck and the fridge are like 2 things that I don't know that I can. Like, I'm looking at getting.
Oh,
I have one in the console now inside my truck, so I can keep like
Yeah.
snacks, like sandwiches, whatever, right there. So I don't have to pull over and get into the one in the back. But I still have the one in the back. And the reason I like having the fridge freezer for because I'm on longer trips, I can keep them
Yeah.
both as fridge. But if I get like, let's say, and this happens a lot, I'll buy groceries for like 3 or 4 days, and I kind of plan out my meals. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have some eggs and bacon for breakfast. I got my coffee. This is what I'm gonna do for dinner for the next couple of nights, and I'll buy chicken, steak, some vegetables, whatever. And I'll have that in there. But let's say I'm out and somebody's like, "Hey, man, I want to take you to dinner," and then I'm like, "Well, crap, I got these steaks that I need to eat," and
Yeah.
then I don't eat them. I can just hit a button, turn the one side of it into a freezer, and then
Hmm.
just move whatever meat I'm afraid is going to go bad into there, and now I'm not wasting it. I can bring it home and I can freeze it. Or if like when we were out in Washington, we caught some amazing fish. We caught lean cod, salmon, halibut. I want to bring all that back, but it's not going to keep if I can't freeze it. So they vacuum sealed it, froze it.
Yeah.
When I got ready to leave, I just pulled it out of the freezer and threw it in my freezer, and didn't matter if it took me a week to get home because it was in the freezer the whole time.
Yeah.
So-
So it's been a life changer for me for sure.
Jameson, is there a chance that there'll be like a cooking show that will come through all of this? Maybe.
Well, we pepper it in some for sure. I've got the deck system too in my truck. And one of the drawers is, I call it my kitchen. So I pull the drawer out and I've actually got like a 2-burner stove that's mounted in the deck drawer so that I can just stand there on the tailgate, open the drawer and cook. And then when I'm done, I just wipe it down and shut the drawer and it's out of the way. I just
Okay.
I carry one cast iron pan, and then I've got a little stainless steel pan too. But usually I try to do one pan. So it's a big griddle size pan. It's like a square instead of round. And I'll just put that on there and I'll cook up the steak and the asparagus side by side, or
Ooh,
eggs
asparagus.
and
Holy
bacon
shit.
side by side, whatever. And then I just eat it right off of the pan. Then it's cast iron, so you don't wash it anyway. I just hose it off while it's hot, wipe it down with a little bit of oil, and put it right back in the drawer. So it's the way to go, like for me.
I use a rocket stove. I made a rocket stove the other year, and it has been it's such a easy thing to do for anybody who has a little metalworking skill, welding machine in the garage. And I use a cast iron pan. And this way, if I need to cook, whether it's breakfast, lunch, supper, it's easy for me to do. It just takes a little, I carry a little bit of firewood with me, like just little blocks. And then I use a little bit of fire starter cube on it, that same one you'd use to get charcoal going. And that thing, it's awesome. Like and when I'm done with it, it stays there, and then it just goes on the back of my trailer. It's secured there, and that's how I cook. What about you, Jay?
Most of the time, it'll be right on the fire. But I have it's called the Lotus Grill. It's a charcoal grill. The charcoal goes in like a chimney, and it's forced air right off the bat. And within 30 seconds, I can be searing steak. Andrew Ferguson, Andrew Cohen could attest to this.
When
It
you guys
works
went lake
for
trip?
me. Yeah, well, yeah, no, we were out fishing for the weekend, carp camping. I broke it out in the parking lot of a Home Depot because we went in to go get some food, and there we were, having a cookout at the Home Depot with the grill. So, but other than that, I don't normally do a lot of like hot food. Like in the summer, ham sandwich, peanut butter and jam, peanut butter and Nutella, on a rack.
I'm with you, man, there. And I mean, Jameson touched on it, but I think of the other part of it for me is that the cooking, well, I think part of what's broken about me that I won't cook a meal when I'm camping. I mean, I will. And like I did some last year, like Boondocks came came out with their skedaddle. So it's I think that it's like a walk with a, you know, with a propane thing, and we did camp out on the Outer Banks, and I did a whole lot of cooking there to like make the marketing video for Boondocks for that product, and it is cool, and it packs down really small. In I've done chili and fajitas and breakfast. I did like, you know, cheese, ham, and egg bagels, and like I did corn on the cob in it. I've done a lot of different things, so it's within my ability, and I did that because it was, you know, my employer at the time. I'm like, all right, let's show off what this can do, but I don't enjoy it, and I think part of it is that I want to move on to the whatever the adventure is. I don't want to take the time to do it. And I think a huge part of that is that I worked over 2 decades in healthcare food service, and I don't want to cook anymore. So
I get it.
I go with Jameson, and he cooks.
I actually enjoy it.
And I bring steaks from the farm.
The road.
And like,
Yeah, that's been
you
the
know,
best. What was it you brought? Oh, one of the trips you brought the was it the shanks, I think, or no, it was short
we
ribs.
actually just today got a cow back from the butcher in
Come see me.
yeah, we'll go.
No, you brought short ribs one time, and that was I mean, we
Yep.
braised them.
Ribs.
But yeah, I think I enjoy the cooking part. I think it's almost like these little processes for me with car camping. Like, obviously, I'm doing it a little different than a lot of people. Like, I'm usually doing it on my way to the destination, especially with the TV shoots. Once we get to the TV shoot, we a lot of times have an Airbnb because we got camera people coming in and other guest hosts. We did actually film a camping episode where we camped the entire time last season, which was awesome. And we're going to do it again this year. But I like the processes of setting up my little shower. Like, I take my time, I get everything set right, I put my floor in, run the hoses. Like, I enjoy that process. I enjoy the cooking process as much sometimes, honestly, as I do the fishing part. Like, you know, to me, it's all part of my adventure. Is, you know, maybe I'm not fishing. Like, and I go with people like Jeff and others that they're there for the fishing, and that's it. Like, that's what they care about. And they're like, you know, we park and we're setting up camp, and they're grabbing their rod out of the truck and they're running down to the water and they're fishing off the shore, you know. And I'm like, they're like, you're not going fishing? I'm like, no, I'm just gonna chill here, you know. And I'm just setting up everything, getting my chairs out, getting the fire going, and like taking my time to do those things. And then the next day, you know, I'm first one at the water because I've got all that out of the way, and I can think, you know, I can concentrate more clearly, I guess, on the fishing. But I actually enjoy that part of it, and I think that everybody's different when it comes to that. And I think that's what I love about things like this, where we can all kind of share the way that we do things. And it's there's so much, like, especially, I think this is not a conversation you would have as much with big boat fishermen.
Right.
Yeah,
is,
probably not.
like, I think for us as kayak anglers, one of the things that has driven us to camping out of our vehicles is how versatile the kayak itself is. We can take it anywhere. We can load it on the top of a car, in the bed of a truck, on a trailer, whatever. And doing that has opened up, like, my mind to, well, if I can take a kayak anywhere, I want to be able to get there. I want to be able to stay anywhere. I want to be able to, like, move quickly. If someone, like, we filmed out in Idaho this year, and the first lake that we were asked to go to by one of my sponsors was not working out at all. It was terrible. And we were able to move quickly because we were in kayak, or in inflatable rafts that in that case, but we were able to move quickly and go somewhere else. And I want the truck and the camping setup to be that way. I want to be able to, this lake's not working out, or this river section is not working out, let's move over here, and not be locked in to this plan of, like, well, we're going here, we're going to stay in this one spot, and we're going to fish this one lake. Well, then you might have a terrible trip because it might not work out. But if you're fluid and you can adjust, I think that's what kayak fishing has forced me to do. And so now everything that I do with my travel has to have that same, you know, fluidity. Is fluidity a word? think that's
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, the way I see it is that there's like almost three groups of car campers. There's professionals like yourself, right? You're doing this traveling for your show, for your sponsors. Then you've got your competitive. Well, and Jeff, I'm going to put you in that group too because I know you've been doing this with Boondocks Torpedo and for years. I mean, you're one of the godfathers here. So, but then you've got just your
I feel like I need a
hardcore.
quote, to acknowledge the
Godfather.
Godfather thing.
Well, no,
won't
you
go.
know what? I remember somebody, a long story, but anyway, somebody was talking about Chad Uber. I'm like, dude, you got to check around just as long. He has been, so anyways, so that's why I kind of say you're kind of the Godfather too. But then you got your hardcore recreational angler like me. I don't do tournaments, but I'm going to also say tournament guys do it out of necessity. You know, it gets expensive. I'll be honest, it gets expensive. You're traveling 4 or 5 hours, that's gas money. Then if you're looking for an Airbnb, a motel for a night or two, I mean, your weekend can go from $5,000 to $1,000. And I think a lot of guys, you know, tournament guys went, hey, I got to look at an alternative here because this is getting really expensive and the checks aren't coming in. And with me, same thing is, well, you know, for years we had a cottage up north and we don't have it anymore. So for me, it was a necessity rather than get up at 1 a.m, drive 4 hours to a lake, fish. Why not go the night before, set up, relax, you know, get a good night's sleep and hit the water. So, and I think that's what's dictated how we've all set up our system.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely, like, for me, because when I first started, it was, how can I make it out to these kayak meetups, meet other anglers, but then at the same time, like, not break the bank doing it? Because let's say it's $50 entry fee. Oh, 3 hours of driving. Ooh, and then 3 hours driving back. And we'll add the gas on top. Oh, your meals. And then it was, oh, well, we'll just we'll bunch of us. We'll split an Airbnb, or we'll split on a hotel or a motel if there is one in the area. That's the other problem. Now, if you can't get somewhere close to where you need to be, well, that's more gas, more dollars being time out there.
That you're driving from wherever you have to be to where you want to be at the beginning and end of the day. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And that was just
financial cost, but like the cost of time. It costs you time to. And I was talking with a bunch of guys that were at one of the tournaments. I can't even remember. It was somewhere. I think it might have been up at Champlain. That there were a bunch of guys that like thought they had a good Airbnb, but then they got there and they were like, no, we will walk out of here with like bed bugs or something. Like, just no. And they had to basically go to a different Airbnb, but it ended up being that it was like, they had to move because everyone already had theirs. The one they had chose was inadequate, like not going to work. And they ended up going another, and it was like an hour and 15 minutes further away because everything else was used up, and it crushed their tournament experience because it was like, there's 2.5 hours out of every day that you're not sleeping. It just costs you 2.5 hours of sleep every day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not worth it, you know. But I see this all the time in guys that go to a tournament and they leave their 9 to 5 on a Friday. Lines in is at 6:30 on Saturday. They drive, 9.5 hours or more to get to that location. They sleep a little bit. They ramp camp and sleep in it, and they don't do it well. In last year, working for Boondocks, and hey, just go to the Boondocks website. They've done a lot of this sort of, like, they are part of our kayak fishing community, right? They're one of ours, and definitely, look at what they have. I mentioned the skedaddle. Jameson, you mentioned the water. What is it called? The rain cloud,
The rain
the
cloud,
water
I think it
tube.
is, yeah.
I have their gear boxes on the side. Like, they got a bunch of overlanding stuff, but one of the things that we're working on with my new employer, Snake River Manufacturing, that we have sort of storyboarded and on the development list is, hey, let's have the trailer where kayak is here, sleeping cabin, enclosed sleeping cabin is here. And to have that sort of trailer where you've got everything that you need right there, that's it's nothing that's coming out in the next year, but we're looking at that because it is such a problem, or it is such a thing that, like, people are not doing well. And I see them, like, and I've filmed guys when I was working with Torquedo and otherwise, that, like, yeah, you're kicking yourself because you just did a 2-day tournament and your day one was just total garbage, and day two you climbed, but you didn't end up in the money. You would have if you got sleep Friday night into Saturday morning. And
Yeah.
I don't know. We gotta do better. And
then
I think
you start
I think
your
all
next
of us
week
in this
off.
group are doing it different stages of better, but we gotta have better products that are really geared towards doing this as kayak anglers.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a tournament guy or a rec guy. If you're tired, you're not enjoying it. Like,
Exactly.
We all want to do well. We're out looking for the next PB. And if you're tired and you're just dragging ass, you might as well just go in. You're just really, honestly, you're wasting your time.
It affects how you perform out there, whether or not you're performing for a tournament or you're performing. You go out there. You've spent all this time getting your gear and everything out there, and your whole idea is to go and fish and this and that. Next thing you know, you can't focus. Why? Because you haven't slept well.
Yeah.
And whether it's affecting your performance in a tournament or just on your own time out there for your own personal PBs, 100%. And I think too, like, one of the reasons I got into it was so that, kind of in that same boat like Jeff, that I could go and I could just focus on fishing. I'd have everything prepared before I leave, like, I get to the spot. I know I planned out my route. I know what I have to do. And then I'm there. I can just focus on what I need to do. And having that, something that you can easily do, never thought, like, and don't get me wrong, I spent a lot of time on the road with bands and toured all over the United States and Canada, and I've slept in vans, tour bus, whatnot. But I will tell you this though, it's kind of neat coming back to this, because even my uncle, who lives in Rockland, Saskatchewan, his name is Ash, he car camps when he drives all over to go to these music seminars for country music and whatnot. And that's what he does. And he's even told me, he's like, yeah, I think he was sleeping in, it was Oklahoma, I think it was. And he was like, it was so hot there. He's like, I wish I would have had, and it was just sharing the story of it. And it's kind of interesting because, like, Jay and I constantly have these conversations about car camping and how we can better it for ourselves all the time. And then, Jeff, like yourself, where you're going out there and you're putting the content out there, and you're showing people, not just how adequate it is to do this, but like how you can do this. And here's some really neat products that, might just make it better for you. And Jameson, you've obviously taken it to a level that, truck camping is, and you're not just, and it's not just you doing it, like you're also showing that you can do this as a family too, right? So yeah, I like I said, like, when I dove into this, like, there's a lot of reasons why, and what one, time is the number one. You can definitely save money, like I'm sure Ryan Parker can test to that, and I'm sure any tournament angler is probably looking to save a buck here and there, because everything's just getting more and more expensive. So yeah,
I don't mean to interject, but this is what's good about having guys like Jameson and Jeff on here that have used products, probably used more products than you and I combined.
Oh, 100%, Jay.
But at least they know and they can recommend good quality product, because we've all done it. You know, do it yourself stuff to get through is one thing, but to have a quality product that lasts season after season where you're not replacing it, because the minute you have to replace it, you've just wasted money. So that's
in time, you know, that's usually right when you're about to go on a trip.
Yeah, and
And
that's
you're
why
like, where's that thing at that I bought? And you find it and it doesn't work. And, you know, it's like,
and that's
well,
why
I need it right
got
now.
solar panels, right? I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you, because you've been doing this long enough that you can say, like, I'm sure you would have said you can make do with the cheap ones, but you're like, nah, don't bother. Same with Jeff. I mean, he's roaming all over the States. So what works for you? And he's going to tell you, you listen. And that's the important part, is listening to guys that do it on the daily, because you're not using just crap. You're going to use, and yes, it costs money up front, but it's no different than a good quality kayak, right? We all know we get on the water with the Sun Dolphin, but, you know, you get into, you know, a Bonafide, a Jackson, you know, there's a big difference. It's upfront money, but it's going to last you. It's going to make it more enjoyable, right?
Yeah. And I mean, your time, like I said, whether you're recreating or whether you're doing it for tournaments or you're doing it to make a living, like it's still valuable. Like, and you want to enjoy it. You don't want to be fixing your gear. And I mean, you know, you can get online and find solar panels, for example, for $50. And the ones I'm talking about using, you're going to add a zero to that, you know, but I've ran it for 2 years now on the same battery, same charger, same solar panels with the same rate. Like they've worked like nonstop. They just work. And, you know, that's what I'm after. I'm after like, okay, I don't have to think about that. That's working. And it's literally working nonstop every day. Like it never turns off. I never turn the fridge off in the truck. The battery's always on. It's always cold. It's always working.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what I'm after. And, you know, the little things like coming, like you're talking about one to add a fridge, you know, my buddy just picked up one off of Amazon that was dirt cheap, but I'm like, man, now he's like trying to build out his solar generator setup in his truck. And I'm like, the problem you have is your fridge consumes a whole lot more power than my fridge.
Yeah.
And because it's just like Orion coolers, that they need to be insulated properly and they need to have like certain things. And I'm like, dude, like, I know you save money, but now you're having to buy more battery to run this fridge. Like in the long run, it's all about like how much you're consuming and how much you need to make in order to offset what you're consuming with power. And like efficiency is a big deal. Like, I mean, so it's little things like that. There's times when you can save money, you know, you don't need necessarily like some things are just like, wow, that's really overpriced. But there's other things that, you know, having the right brand, having the right gear, you know, you go from a sleeping bag that lasts you a season to lasting you 20 years. That's a big difference, you know. And if you extrapolate a $50 bag versus a $500 bag over that amount of time, you're literally spending more than twice what you could have spent if you had done that right the first time and took care of it. And then that's the other part. If you got to take care of your gear and just like we do our rods and our reels, like I fish a lot of saltwater. I know Jeff is in saltwater some as well. And you know, you got to buy the gear that can hold up to it, but then you also have to take care of it and maintain it and rinse it. And you know, if you want to continue to use it day after day. So I mean, my wife says I'm bougie, but like, and I am in a sense, but at the same time, I do a lot of research. Once I decide which one I believe is the right one, I go ahead and spend the money. And then I'm rarely ever I rarely get it wrong. I do get it wrong occasionally, and I have like the stupid motorhome that I bought. But you know, most of the time that research and a little bit of extra effort to find the right brand pays off, you know.
James,
So-
that's your guest house.
That is my guess. Jeff spends more time in that thing than anyone. That's it.
It's a little stuffed motorhome now.
It is pretty much. If you could just start making the payment, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
No,
So I
buy right. Buy
I want
once.
to add one thing here. If you had any tip for somebody who is looking to get into, car camping, somebody who's looking to get into the whole truck setup, and also, let's go into the rooftop tent, what would you say? What would you give them?
I would actually come up with a budget and look at all the different topics that we went through.
Yeah.
We talked about HVAC. We talked a little bit about security. We talked about showers. We talked about, power in the sleeping pads. And we talked a lot about a lot of different things. Do what Jameson has done and research it to death. And like start an actual list of like, okay, I need a good sleeping bag. Or maybe, Jay, what was it you're using when you talked about the taco?
Down to
Yeah. Look at that. But say, okay, my budget for this is this much, or my total budget for doing this is this much. And maybe I'm not going to do it all at once. And I certainly haven't. I mean, it took a while before I got the rooftop tent and some of the other pieces. And I'm still missing pieces. I'm still doing what Ryan does and carrying the 5-gallon bucket with the bags and the kitty litter. But,
Hey,
if you go down through all of those and just map out what are your needs, and what is the budget, and go research it, and hopefully you can do the buy once cry once deal with that, and not spend something, buy 3 different versions because, hey,
yeah. And prioritize when you're doing that, prioritize what you need, your needs are. I mean, to me, a comfortable night's sleep is number one, because you can find food, you can find a place to go to the bathroom. It might not be the best place to go to the bathroom, it might not be the best food, but you can typically find food out and you can find a place to go to the bathroom. But a good night's sleep to me is number one. So like
I actually added one of
your-
the pads to I went to Target and just spent like $80 on the extra top pad for just like a regular, I don't know whether it's a double or whatever it is, and cut it out and put it in on top of the one that's in the James Brood rooftop tent, because it was passable, but I was like, I need more. And then I bought 3 pillows, and that's more insulation. I know it sounds like, do you really use 3? Well, if you box yourself in, yes, you stay warmer. So yeah, I agree.
Jeff, how last year, last year and this year being on the road, how many nights have you slept in that rooftop tent? Just off the top of your head.
In Caldwell, Idaho alone, approaching a month.
Wow.
Approaching 30 nights in that. Outside of that, I don't know. Probably that much again.
Yeah, I'm probably a couple hundred in mine now. Over 2 years, a couple hundred nights.
What about you, Jay? How many nights have you spent?
Well, this year's I haven't been out as much.
Yeah.
But generally, I'm looking at about 45 days on average, like from May till the end of November. And getting back to what Jameson was saying about prioritizing is, if you're looking for a rooftop or to start camping, and I think one of the most important is, if you're looking at a rooftop, is shelter. So if if you need to spend more on that, and you don't plan on sleeping in, below 30 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius, then don't go out and spend $500 on a sleeping bag. Put that extra money towards your shelter, because that's the most important. That's going to keep you dry, safe, and whatever. And then, like Jeff or me, get a quality sleep pad and put that extra money there, because you can always use blankets. It's not going to get hot. You don't need a quality sleeping bag in the summer. You know what I'm saying? Put it in elsewhere. Like, really prioritize on what you need. To me, and that's mine was sleep. I want to make sure I get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So I wake up, I'm raring. I'm not even eating. I'm just hitting the water. Got my thermos. I'm going.
I think you build on it, right? Like, once you have the shelter,
Yeah.
then you can go, okay, what's my next thing? Is it food? Is it a way to cook? Is it, play? And that's, I mean, over the last couple of years of my truck, every time I think, oh, I got a little bit of extra, or I have the opportunity to work with a partner, I'm like, this is the next thing that I want to add to it. And I just build off of that. And before I had campers, and I was even in between campers, I was doing the tent camping thing out of the truck. Actually, Adam, when I was up there, that's what I was doing, was just camping with a tent. You know, all of that gear that I've accumulated over the last 12 years of doing this is still good, usable gear. Like, I don't know of any of it that I don't use anymore. So now I have, accumulate, and I'll wait till stuff's on sale. I'll look for closeouts. I'll go to, having the luxury of traveling and visiting a lot of kayak dealers that are also just outdoor shops. It's like, oh, you guys have your, Western Mountaineering $500, $800, whatever sleeping bag on sale for 70% off because it's not sold. And I'm like, perfect, time to buy that. Even if I don't really need it, I'm like, that's a great deal. And that's a bag that's going to last forever and has a lifetime warranty. Like, it's a no brainer. And so then I just accumulate that stuff that can go with me no matter what platform, what vehicle,
There you go.
like, I mean, I'm always gonna, even though I camp out of my truck now, like my kids now are starting to also want to tent camp outside of that. And sometimes I can't get the truck to where we're camping. So I have the good tents, now. And, you just accumulate that gear. And if you buy it right, when you need it, you got it. If you take care of it and keep the mice away from it, that's been a challenge. But yeah, I mean, prioritize. And then as you buy it with the thought of, I want this to outlast my vehicle. I want this to outlast my hobby of kayak fishing. It's gonna always be there when I want to go outside. One day my kids want to go out and camp, later, like, I've got this, and I know it's gonna work.
I like
this outlasting hobby of kayak fishing nonsense.
I'm not saying that but some people change, like,
Yeah.
you've seen it. How many people have we seen come into the sport hot and heavy, and then they have kids, or they go through a divorce, or they get married, or whatever? And it's not that they don't love it anymore, but their life changes and they can't focus on it. So it changes, but you still have the gear, and maybe you sell your kayak fishing stuff, but you still want to be outside, right? So you still have the good camping gear. But
get outside. It's
I know
good
what you're
for
talking about, but I feel like we need to have funerals for those individuals.
well, I'm like, I don't know that I'm definitely not out of kayak fishing, but I've expanded quite a bit over the last couple of years with inflatable rafts, big boat stuff now. And
the rafts are cool.
I miss the kayak fishing sometimes. It's mostly the people that I spend a lot of time around. But I don't miss sometimes dragging my boat with you down a river, which shouldn't ever happen. Like, you shouldn't have to drag your boat down the river, Jeff. There's things like waking up in a flood, that those memories are great, but I don't necessarily want to do that every day. So you change, but stepping onto a $700,000 boat is nice too.
Yeah.
So, Jay, think of like your think of one particular favorite camp spot where you car camped that was a phenomenal fishing trip or fishing location or I don't know. Like what's your favorite? Favorite one place. And you don't have to tell us where it is, but like tell us about it.
You got to drop a pin and share it.
No.
No. You know what? I want to say the name, but my buddy Jeff would probably kill me.
Yeah, let's not piss off a guy named Jeff. Just describe it.
Just describe it.
So you're again an hour away from the nearest city. Anything. It's on a backlogging road. It's a good thing I got 4-wheel drive. And you get into it, it's Crown land, so it's free camping on Canadian government land on this remote lake. There's not a cottage, there's nothing on there. And it's an east-west lake. So first thing in the morning, that sun's just coming up, and you know, you're sitting there. When you get up, you get out, and that sun's just cresting. It's beautiful. The only problem is I won't go back because the fishing is shit. But but the experience was well worth it. Like, just if I were to go back, it would be probably just to camp because it was pristine.
It had a view that you could go in. If you had to use the washroom, you could look out and relax. You know, that's
a great view.
yeah. Like, I mean, it's one of those, and that's what I look forward to. It's the adventure too, right? Like,
I love that. I love that word adventure. Like, it's
kayak fishing for me or a kayak was just a means of getting on waters I've always wanted to fish that I couldn't with a boat. But then it turned into an adventure, right? Because now you're looking at Google Maps and going, that lake looks juicy. This one looks juicy. Where can I camp? Where can I go? Can I get in? So it's part of the experience. And my buddy Jeff, Dutch, I call him, he really kind of forced that, taking the experience of what you're doing. It's not so much about the fishing, it's about the people you're with, it's about the surroundings, it's about, you know, just forgetting everything.
It's an escape
and being in the moment. I'll tell you the lake because nobody will find it. It's called Sand Lake.
Found it.
I've been there.
Yeah, I know that place. Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, it's probably my favorite place that I've been to, and we went back twice. Like, even knowing that the fishing wasn't hot. Like, I mean, you know, biggest was about 18-inch largies, but it was really good. What about you?
Yeah.
One that stands out was in Oklahoma, a river, and it was a place other people were doing it, but it was a massive sandbar, and inside sandbar, huge gravel area, and you know, I got to pull to the innermost part of that sandbar, and then you had to kind of put it in 4-wheel drive to get up this bluff to get up and out of there. But I mean, you were just tucked in a really nice spot, and there's something really cool about going to sleep and hearing moving water.
Yeah.
It's another thing to come out of sleep and hear flood water and you're about to die in your
We
tent.
didn't hear it. I think you actually felt it.
No, so all right, that story.
Wet dreams, boys.
How many days were we out there? It was the last night that we were going to sleep out there.
No, we were supposed to have one more night, but we didn't get it.
So we hurried up.
I think it was the third night.
It was over. Yeah, like they did a dam release, and
no one told us.
It's. Well, there's a video on it. So it's twilight, or it's starting to become light out, and you hear the birds, and I'm kind of in and out, but I'm like awake a little bit, and I'm like, why am I dizzy? I have a little bit of vertigo just laying here. Whatever. And I lay there some more, and I kind of roll over on my side, and my left knee flops over the right side of the air mattress and goes sploosh in like that much water in the tent.
Yeah, we were floating.
I was dizzy because the air mattress was
It's
floating.
like a water bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did I yell out?
We got water.
We got water.
Yeah. And when
But
we
it,
all
but it,
got
but
done,
it was the intonation of like fear, emergency, anxiety, and just full on loud, like, we got water.
we were 9 feet above the water, by the way, the night before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so by the time we got done, and also kudos to everyone that was with us, because we had the right group of people. You know, you never know like how people are going to react in a situation.
For sure.
But you find out, you know, when there's a situation, and everyone, no words were really spoken. We all just went to doing what we had to do to get
I
camp
spoke
broke.
some words. Hey, grab that Kusa. It's floating away.
It's floating away.
Got
Yeah,
it.
but I'm saying everybody just did their thing, got camp taken down, and then literally we cooked goose sausage while we watched the water continue to rise. But by the
We had to
time we
move
got
twice though. Like we moved it here, and
Yeah.
it was like, okay, now that's flooding, and it's been like 8 minutes. Okay, we got to move it here again.
Yeah, by the time we were done, there was waist deep water where camp was. So it was rising fast.
And that was in like
But
20 minutes.
yeah, it was ridiculous. Sketchy. Don't want to do that again. That's not my favorite place by far. My personal
All right, let's
favorite
hear
place. I don't know, man. It's a hard one, but I can tell you the top probably 10 were unplanned. Just places that I stumbled across. And one of them was actually after picking up the camper, I had my wife and my kids with me because I thought, what an adventure. I'll take them to California with me. And then on the way back, we'll camp. And so I got on the map that I was telling you guys about, that All Stays app, and I found some public land in the Tahoe National Forest. And there was all these little like lakes, little chain lakes up in the mountains. And so they had these little like dispersed camping spots at each one of them. And we just started driving up the Forest Service Road, and we would stop at the first one and check it out. Let's keep going. And we finally came up on this one that was just like about as far back as the road went. And there was a spot like right on the water. And we backed up to it. And I mean, it was just like, I don't know, the most picturesque thing that you could imagine. And there were trout rolling. And there were, you know, my kids were swimming and just going crazy. And like, we were going to keep moving, and we decided, no, we're just going to stay here for a couple nights. And I remember like my wife woke up and she's like, man, I'm really glad you got this camper. So like the whole thing was just like the perfect storm of like, we just picked up the camper, which she wasn't like, even though, you know, she still was like, I don't know about having this thing on the truck all the time. And then we got there and she was like, holy crap, we can do this with this, you know? So that one stands out to me as one of them for sure.
So I'm gonna touch on my favorite car camping
Downtown
spot.
Toronto?
Cherry Beach. Cherry Beach, downtown Toronto. No, that is probably my least fit.
Okay,
I have
hold on, Jeff Jameson. This guy decides that he's gonna go and car camp at the crackhead beach of Toronto. So Toronto is no different than Chicago. It's probably worse. And I mean, there's people, you know, shooting up next door. There's a rave going on out on the beach.
Bonfires everywhere.
Did you blend in? Did you do anything to like tweak her out yourself to like?
He borrowed your
blend in
sweater,
ads, you know?
Jeff, and then he just walked out there.
Like nobody car camps in Toronto except for Adam. Adam goes, why don't you meet me? I'm like, I'll meet you in the morning. I'm not camping there. Golly.
Well, when you live, you know, 4 or 5 hours away, you know, sometimes you just gotta take it, and that's just where the meetup was. didn't do too good of a research on that one, but no, my favorite so far, my favorite spot is last summer I had an opportunity to go down to Paul Smith College in Paul Smith, New York, the Adirondacks, super beautiful. And on my way back up, I had an opportunity to fish a river that was near one of the state parks there. And this, like, it was so cool because when I pulled in, I was like driving up and I'm like, oh, there's a dam. I'm like, sweet, okay. So I'm like kind of going up and I'm like, I drive by and I'm like, I can see you can turn in. And I'm like, oh, I got my trailer. I'm like, I don't really want to have to back out of anything like, crappy. I'm like, so I kind of pull off, walk back down and check it out. And I'm like, this is like perfect. It's like a little roundabout. You just go in, you come, you park, nice little easy spot to launch. I was like, oh, maybe I'll fish here. So I grab a rod out of my rod tube, make a cast, and third cast in there, a little smallie. I'm like, okay, maybe this is good. It was honestly the best place yet because you could just hear that running water, and it was like white noise to sleep with, and it was so peaceful. And when I woke up that morning, there was, like, when I was leaving, like, there was just this low fog just kind of coming through, and like it was just like, even if I didn't even get out on the river, I was just like in awe, like that I was there. And it was just like the best way to like really, the icing on the cake for an awesome weekend down with a veterans thing. And I'll be honest with you, like just that, it was like, man, that's like my serenity there. Like that is just, to me, is like, oh, like I said, like same thing, Jay, like, like you say, like, oh, even if I just to go camp, like it's just this nice little spot, like, like literally, camping down by the river, and to me, that was just like my little slice of heaven. And I still think about that spot. And I've actually drove past it in, I believe it was February when I went back down there. And it was still like very cool to see, like in the wintertime with all the snow and that river just kind of moving along. But yeah, I definitely want to get back to that spot because it's just, and it was like it was meant to be. Like, oh, you got the trailer, because I don't always take my trailer. Sometimes I use the rack on the roof, and this time I had my trailer and I was like, oh, I really don't want to have to sneak it in and out. Anybody drives a trailer, you kind of think of that, like, am I able to get it out? But yeah, so no, that was for me. Yeah, guys, I gotta say, like, this has been a lot of fun sitting down for the first ever down the Scupper hole. There'll be more segments like this where we just kind of talk into a topic of, this one being car camping. My guest tonight, Jeff Little, Jameson Redding, and Mr. Downtown Jay Brown, and also Mr.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Parker. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time to come on the podcast. Also, I'll let you guys, I'm sure everybody knows where to find you, but for those who don't, let them know where to find you.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Somebody go first.
The Little Stuff YouTube channel and Jeff Little Kayak Fishing on Instagram. And yeah, I finally did the TikTok thing. I think it's called River Rubbernecker is my TikTok thing. But yeah, I put most of it on Instagram and YouTube. And Snake River Manufacturing is my employer. Really cool trailers, kayak trailers, but we're also jumping into the whole supplying all of the parts needed for DIY trailer projects. Like we just finished making 2-piece bunks that you can put on any jet ski trailer, utility trailer. We're going to make them so you can put them on the truck bed, like the top of the rails. Yeah, so whether you're doing a welding DIY project or whether you need bolt-on rails, like we're moving in that direction, and it's fun working with Steve Carroll, who's just a brilliant engineer who's one of us. He's a kayak angler, and he does some really he builds things that last. We were talking about products that last, and boy does he, engineer for worst case scenario. So Snake River Manufacturing.
Sweet.
I guess I'll go Road Trip Angler on YouTube, and then also on FanDuel Sports Networks, and up in Canada, Wild TV.
Yo.
And then Jameson Redding on Instagram, and Jameson Redding Fishing on Facebook.
Me, I'm not fancy like you guys. No, just Facebook, J Brown, or I think it's J Brown, and then Instagram, the real JB. And that's it, really. I don't do the TikTok stuff.
Me neither.
You will soon. You guys all will soon. Now, Jeff.
I've heard I'm on there, but only from just clips that other people have taken post. But I don't see it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, guys? Like, this has been a lot of fun. And everybody who reached out in the comments, all the guys up here in Canada, all the guys in the States, everybody, we appreciate the comments. I don't know what the next topic's going to be or where it's going to go, but hey, this is Down the Scupper Hole, and I am your host, Adam Pross, and I look forward to seeing you all again. And don't forget, if you want to get into car camping, I'm sure you could reach out to any of these guys and they would gladly give you tips, tricks. Yep. Don't forget to go check out Jeff's YouTube channel. He's got loads of stuff on it. If you want some basic ideas on car camping, hey, reach out anytime. I'm more than happy. You know where to find me, right here at the River Run Podcast. Thank you once again. I'm your host, Adam Pross, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols, The Rusty Hook with John Rapp, The River Run with Adam Fraser Pross, May Contain Fishing with Daniel Woodcock, Chasing the 20s with Carlisle Esterly and Sean Lavery, Friday Night Bites with Brian Schiller. Thanks for tuning into the Paddle and Fin Network. Subscribe and always wear your PFD.